Could you give me 3 words to describe the music scene in the 60s?
Turn on, tune in, drop out.
We've just got these steps. Here we are, here's the bulldozer. Before he starts, I'll just say that is the original college. And we will practice up there. That's what's left of the original college. That would extend across to here. Sad really, isn't it?
I'm sure there was... Oh no. Oh dear. That's Granny. She's on there somewhere. Ah yeah, there we are. I like that. Now that's a piece of Nigel Weymouth, the artist. It's fantastic. That's one of the posters that was stuck to the van. That's another one. Starting here, we have Mr. Joe Beard, gangster. Mr. Peter Walker, singer, very good gangster. Oh, that's Jeffrey Bowyer, trying to play the piano. This is Trevor Langley, Ank to his friends, and this is Jerry Robinson. All standing outside Granny Takes a Trip on the King's Road.
So I used my student grant money to go and buy a blues guitar from a shop in Stockport. And then we thought we need a washboard now. So we've got guitar, harmonica, vocals, kazoo, we need a washboard. One of our guys in college was a guy called Jeff Bowyer from Macclesfield. He was a real funny guy and pretty musical too. I knew he played a little bit of piano.
He sort of went round. He didn't sort of force us all, but he knew people could do little bits of things musically.
And I started playing harmonica along with it, and they said, right, we're in. And that was the basis of the Young Contemporaries Jug Band. We rehearsed, they had to throw us out at 9 o'clock at night, you know, we'd be up in the life room, and the janitor would be coming right, oh, we got no homes to go to, you know.
We did have a sort of manager, yes. He used to play the jug sometimes with us. A chap called Gordon Aldred. Gordon was at Stockport as well, and he sort of got us gigs, because those gigs were all in folk clubs.
And he started writing around to record companies, and the only one really got much of a reply from was Transatlantic Records.
So we went down to London on a bus early in the morning. The interview at Marylebone Lane office was about noon. So we went for a quick rest in St James's Park.
Let's go and run through a few numbers. So Joe had his guitar, Jeff had the washboard, I had the harmonicas.
And we were playing away, and our crowd got bigger and bigger and bigger and wouldn't leave us.
And people started stopping and applauding, and until eventually a parker came over with a policeman, said, get out. So off we went.
And we went off in a taxi to Marylebone Lane, and I was expecting this high-rise, neon-lit office block with Transatlantic on it.
Expecting to find this. No, it looked more like a wimpy bar. Transatlantic Records, but, you know.
And we met Nat Joseph, and we played in his office, acoustically, no electrics.
He brought in this young American guy called Joe Boyd,
who produced lots of other people. He did the Floyd.
We didn't realise that he plugged Bob Dylan in, but we found out that later. He said, I'll manage you just for a while, because you need a manager.
And Joe also said he could do Young Contemporaries Jug Band is too long.
Wouldn't have fitted on the label with the print on the record, would it? It'd be so long. We had to get something shorter.
We became the Purple Gang because Joe said, hey, I've got this band called the Pink Floyd, the Purple Gang.
That I only realised that Elvis comes up with it in his song Jailhouse Rock. And the whole rhythm section was the Purple Gang, let's rock, doom-ba-doom-doom.
And that then decided eventually after a few weeks to sign us. But I think there were things mentioned about, have you got one of your own songs? Because we were doing a repertoire of jug band music.
And we'd had a couple of photographs taken of the band, but we needed something pretty serious by now. So Joe knew the owner of Granny Takes a Trip boutique down at the World's End, Nigel Weymouth.
Well, the mouth is slightly open, and that's just plain glass. That. So when you went in, it was very dark inside, but light came through there. So Brian Shule sat us just inside this with the light coming in. And Mr. McCartney come walking in while we're there, you know.
And started looking through some large prints, you know, it was shopping really, and it was in the days of a Mexican moustache sort of thing. Joe couldn't believe it.
Paul McCartney just sort of waved and he ducked, he said, keep me out of the shot. Anyway, we carried on with it, and after the shooting, you know, he said, hey guys, where are you from? We said, Stockport. Oh, he says, yeah, you're on the Mersey as well. Which it is, it's at the top end of the Mersey. He said, there. Anyway, good luck guys, good luck, see you guys, see you, and that was it. And then we posed again outside, Granny Takes a Trip, and that's that film you see now.
Joe said, look at that, Granny Takes a Trip, what a great name for a song, what a great name. He said I could write some words around that, you know.
So, we went back up north and Jeff and I got together, and the lyric to Granny was so easy by now because the storyline was already there.
And it was all from that shop. I knocked out a very, very small amount of notes which kicked it off, and then we chipped in and all wrote bits of it, sort of thing.
And Joe said, that's it, that's the single. I said, no, we're having bootleg whiskey. Oh, no. He says, the hippies are on the rise. Granny Takes a Trip. You've got a ready-made audience, don't blow it. Okay, right. He said, so rehearse Granny. I'll book in sound techniques.
Joe said, I was in here last night recording Pink Floyd. I went, what, Pink Floyd? Yeah, it was in here. He said, they've got this song called Arnold Lane. I says, oh, right. He said, do you want to hear it?
And those big speakers there and again, Arnold Lane, you know, that came out.
I've gone goosepimply right now, just hearing that. It was stunning.
Sid Barrett sent a message saying he liked Granny Takes a Trip. He got a tape and he got some of his songs on it, and there's one on it that would suit us called Boom Tune. And I put it in my guitar case to learn. We thought we were going to make it, both bands. Completely different sound, absolutely, completely. We were completely acoustic, and they were at the vanguard of psychedelia. But at the time, the audiences were open to anything. And Joe had started a club with a guy called John Hopkins.
And then he said, there's a big job coming up at Alexandra Palace.
Oh, it's just a huge bill, a massive poster, and it must have had about 30 names on it. And everybody was on there. We were down near, I think it was alphabetical order. I think we were in the P's at the bottom, right? And of course, Hendrix was a bit further up, I think, the list. And it was fantastic.
And it was going to be a free benefit for the whole scene, especially for Hoppy and International Times. They were expecting a big crowd, but it turned out to be many, many thousands. And by this time, we got posters on the van. We've got posters on the side of Granny Takes a Trip, designed by Nigel Weymouth. We've now got the 49 Technicolor Dream posters on the side of the van. And we're heading up from Muswell Hill in the rain. And the nearer we get, there's more and more. So we're going into hundreds now, and then it becomes thousands, and then they're all heading up to this palace on the hill. And it's like something out of a dream, and it's a 14-hour dream.
And it went on for 14 hours. And it was in the main Alexandra Palace before it burnt out. And there was a stage at one end, a stage at the other end. It was absolutely unbelievable. Helter-skelters in there, all sorts.
And it's packed. It's fantastic. There's noise everywhere, echoing. There's smoke. There's flashing lights. There's strobes going. There's all sorts going on. I thought, wow, this is fantastic.
Yoko Ono was there with her happening, and I remember Jeff and myself were just chatting like this, and we were biffed apart, and it was John Lennon and an entourage behind him.
It was almost thought not to be possible, this gig, but they did it. So you've got John Peel, who's hammering Granny Takes a Trip Away on Radio London on that boat, and you've got Radio Caroline hammering Granny up the coast. To see my mother's face when she heard our record on the radio was just a delight. We were expected it was going to be big. Nat Joseph gets a letter from the BBC. He called us to the office and he said, I've got some good news and some bad news. He said, I managed to get you with the Eastern Agency onto Top of the Pops and into Jukebox Jewelry, which is massive. He says, but guess what? He said, they're going to ban it.
It was innocent words to an innocent song. They just said, oh, it takes a trip. It's, you know.
The title of the song really got through to the BBC. And so in the end, the letter read from the BBC, we were going to advise all our disc jockeys not to play Granny Takes a Trip. The reason being it will offend the old and corrupt the young.
And we just laughed because it was so ridiculous. But the laugh was on us. We didn't realise how powerful the BBC was. If you lost the BBC, you lost everything then. They were all powerful.
Yet, and this is the ironic thing, the band Granny Takes a Trip, Arnold Lane was on Top of the Pops, you know. But they didn't understand that, you see. They didn't understand it. Yes.
At the time, it ruined my career. I was so upset, I was really upset. Everything was ready for go. I began to get a bit shirty, my nerves were getting a bit rattled, and I was getting fed up with driving. I thought, I'm going on strike. We had a gig at Sussex University, and I thought, all right, they'll get another driver, I'm going to be awkward. I'm not driving. And the phone went, and it was the band. We're ready to go to Brighton. I said, well, who's driving? You. I said, no, I'm not. Instead of us sorting it out like men, proud boys, pride before a fall, they said, you're out of the band, Joe. And that was it. I left the band.
Things started to fall apart a little bit, and we had a spat with Joe, and things didn't go right, and we said, well, we'll get somebody else. More or less split up. And Transatlantic came back to us and said, Luke, you can't split up because you're under contract, you've got to produce an album. He said, oh.
I made friends with Tony again, and Jeff and Pete and everybody. We finished off the album and we had to do it very quickly. In fact, if I remember now, we did it in an afternoon, and the album came out.
Which became Purple Gang Strikes.
I don't know what it did to record sales. I have no idea about that. We just had to live with that. I mean, nobody went to jail, nobody was sued, you know. It just carried on till we all petered out one by one eventually, years later.
Turn into the moon. I can make the month of September into
So after that, the silence from me, what's unfinished business in your life? Purple Gang. Yeah, but can you get those guys back together? No, can't get Jeff Bowie in London. He's with Oiler Cart. Can't get Pete Walker. He's gone completely into another world of art. And I thought, hang on, why must it be them? Why couldn't it be somebody else? So we became Purple Gang 2000. And there was Stuart Pevitt, Chris Millward, me, and we did an album. Jerry came along, bless him, and we went to record the second album called Night of the Uncool. That's the only one available, I think. And we went to Hungary, and I didn't realise, but Gabor had been out there before with our album, and they were hammering it in Budapest on the radio. And the one track they wanted more than any was Sunset Over the Mersey, which was basically about Stockport College. And it was my love letter to my days at Stockport College when I was with early days of the band. And it's all the people that had requested it had come to see the band. And then we go into Sunset Over the Mersey, and they're singing it in English. They're singing the chorus. I thought, well, what's this? The next thing we hear is, it's gone to #1, and it's not Britney Spears off the #1 spot. I get back to England, my phone does not stop ringing. It's the Guardian, it's the Metro, it's the Daily Express, it's Birmingham this, the Liverpool Echo. It's Silk FM Macclesfield here, what's this, would you like to come in? I said, well, no. I said, you never played Purple Gang before. And they said, well, this time you're going national. I said, I'll be there in 20 minutes. And I flew off to Macclesfield in the car, and I went on all the commercial stations. Then we want you, it's Radio Manchester. Oh, right, yeah, okay. BBC. Yeah, but you're going national. I'll be there as soon as I can. So I go with Gabor and Pev to Manchester, Oxford Road, BBC. And the staff are in the lobby and the reception all come out and clapped us in. They applauded us in. I said, what's this for? Well, we heard about the band. We're making it up to you. And I said, BBC, I love you. I forgive you.
I sang with the band whilst I was at college. I was a session singer, so any bands that came in, I would do a lot of vocals for them to get a bit of extra cash. And the Purple Gang came in, and I was, about 20, something like that at the time. And they asked me to sing on the backing track because they were re-recording Granny Takes a Trip. So I said, okay. And then after that, I got to know them, and they asked me if I would come and do some rehearsals with them because they've got a gig coming up.
Ladies and gentlemen, live on stage after 50 years, the one, the only, Purple
Me and Joe are always sending emails to one another, and all of a sudden this one comes through. I've been in touch with such and such a body at the Cavern. We've got a spot there if we want it.
So once a year, Granny takes a trip. Always with us, and she's well equipped.
When he said the Cavern, I went, the Cavern? Oh my God, the Cavern? I was going, wow, that one?
That's why it was such an important night to sort of, in a sense, say goodbye.
It was lovely. Looking at Jeff and he looked at me, we didn't need to say anything to one another. It was, yeah, we're here, okay. We've got it. And afterwards he said, you did all right. I said, you did all right too. It was like that. I said to my wife the other night, she said, I know what you're thinking. I said, you can read my mind. She said, you're going to form another band, aren't you? I said, yeah.
So once a year, Granny takes a trip.